So you want to move to the Tampa Bay area, or maybe you have to move to the Tampa Bay area for work or PCS to MacDill Air Force Base. And you're wondering, are the summers really that bad in Tampa Bay and can I handle them? In today's video, I'm going to go over my honest thoughts about the summers here from someone who relocated from the Midwest. I'm originally from Minnesota to Tampa Bay. I moved here in the summer. And so I definitely have more of an honest take on what it's really like to make that adjustment and what that's looked like as far as everything I had to do to get myself acclimated to the Tampa Bay summers because, spoiler alert, they can be brutal. Hi, my name is Celia, and I am a Tampa Bay realtor. I help people find the perfect place for them in the Tampa Bay area. I post videos every single week about what it's really like to live in Tampa Bay and home buying tips here. So if that content interests you, go ahead, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and let's get into it. So first, let's start with actual numbers, what you can expect as far as the temperature and humidity here. So from about June to September, the average temperature during the day is about 91 degrees. And that doesn't sound too bad, but what you really have to factor in here is the humidity levels, because the pair of the heat and the humidity is truly what makes the summers here kind of tough for most people, because the humidity here can reach up to 90%. And so not only is it really hot, but it's also really sticky outside. And I would say, even though it reaches around mid 70s during the nighttime, so you can experience some of that in the evening or early in the morning, but even around 8 o'clock in the morning, it already starts to feel sticky here. So during the summer, I try to get my walks and outside exercise time in early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning or later on in the evening, because any other time you really just can't spend that much time exercising outside without feeling super exhausted. And so if you're from somewhere like California or Nevada, you might be thinking, well, I'm used to the super high temperatures, even higher than that. But it's really the combination with the humidity that makes it super uncomfortable sometimes. Now, when I moved here from Minnesota, it was in June. And so it was the peak of summer, right when it was starting to get really hot. And I will say that coming from a cold climate state, I was actually surprised how fast my body acclimated to the weather here. Something that I really had to be careful of is just drinking a ton of water, wearing sun protection, of course, and also factoring in that I would need electrolytes more because I would be sweating more. So, started drinking more electrolytes and more fluids, and also try to focus on foods that hydrate you, like fruit, for example. Um, I will say though, full disclosure, that the first summer I moved here, I lost about 5 pounds just from sweating so much. Now, that could be a pro or a con, but just want to give you a heads up. There will be an adjustment period where your body is like, what is going on? The other thing that you should expect from the summers here is that that is typically the rainy season. Technically, it's hurricane season. And so, even if there aren't any active hurricanes, it does rain pretty frequently. I would say more days it does rain than not in the summers here. The difference is, when I was living in the Midwest, if it was a rainy day, a lot of times it would rain all day long, where here it can kind of be like, it doesn't seem like it's going to rain, it'll be clear skies, and very quickly the clouds roll in and it pours for like 20 minutes and then it's done. And so you really have to just be careful and time your walks, because I have experienced before being out for a nice long walk about 30 minutes from home and it starts downpouring and I was soaked. So, although it's not all day, you do have to be aware that it is going to rain pretty frequently during the summer here. Now that I've shared the negatives and the brutality that the heat can bring, I do just want to say that although it's a little bit rough for about 4 months out of the year, the vast majority of the year, the weather here is absolutely gorgeous. It truly feels like being on vacation every weekend. At least for me, I like to go on day trips and explore during the weekends, going to different beaches. And moving here from the Midwest, specifically from Minnesota, it feels like a life changer that I can just get in my car and drive to the beach instead of hopping on a plane. So every place has its pros and its cons. And that's just one of those things about Tampa Bay. The summers here will be brutal, but those who survive will fully enjoy the rest of the year. And there's plenty to enjoy during the summers as well. Going to the beach, swimming in the ocean, or swimming in a pool is one of my favorite activities, of course, because it helps you cool off. And it's still something fun that you can do with your friends or your family and spend quality time together outside. But you will want that water because you need to cool off if you're sitting outside in the sun for that long. In my experience, I find that the people who struggle the most with the adjustment to the climate here aren't those who move from cold weather states because, at least in Minnesota and a lot of areas in the Midwest, it's also really humid during the summer. So, although it's more hot and humid here, I was already somewhat used to the mix of heat and humidity during Minnesota summers. I would say it's the biggest adjustment from people who are from hot, dry climates like California or Arizona. Another note that I wanted to include is that your blood does thin and your body does adjust a lot faster than you would think. So, when I moved here, it was in June, and I was thinking to myself, I'm from Minnesota. This is going to be nothing for me when it gets colder in December and January. So, when it's 65 degrees and everyone is in parkas, I am going to be in my t shirt because that's warm for Minnesota, but your body adjusts, your blood thins. And so I was indeed one of those people wearing a parka when it was 65 degrees outside. And so that is something to note, that your body will adjust and the heat does not feel as brutal once you've been here for a while. So, can you handle the summers in Tampa Bay? Probably yes. Really just comes down to knowing and being aware that for about 4 months of the year, it is going to be pretty hot and humid and a little bit brutal on your system. You just need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as far as proper sun protection, drinking enough water, and getting those electrolytes in, and also enjoying those activities such as swimming in the ocean or swimming in your pool. Having a pool home here definitely helps during the summer. Side note. That being said, if you're someone who absolutely hates the feeling of humidity, then this might not be the place for you to move. There's pros and cons everywhere, but that's something that you need to consider. There is really no avoiding the humidity here. If I did not scare you away and you think you can handle living in the Tampa Bay area, I would love to help you find the perfect home, whether that is purchasing or renting a home. A lot of my buyers here have actually decided to rent, whether that's short term or a year long rental, before they make the move. So that's something we can talk about on what's going to be the best scenario for you as you make your transition here to the Tampa Bay area. The best way to get in contact and start working with me is to text Tampa to 612-963-8420.